If you're following the Baldoni Lively case, I think that you need to listen to Dr. Danielle Jones' post. You can see it's a repost. And it got me thinking very deeply because I was sitting here and I was just letting it replay, and she says the words obsessed and outcome, etc. And like, I've experienced this in my own relationships. And granted, I will I will give the disclaimer. I have a very unique look. It's not easy for people to find my doppelganger, but there have been times where there's like hallmarks and whatnot. So I do understand this to some degree from a personal standpoint. But what really got me thinking about Justin Baldoni in relation to this type of thing is, first of all, we're going to go on a very deep dive. And I hope you do some research behind this also, and that you just don't take my word for it outright. A lot of what I have also learned about trauma and abuse comes from Dr. Craig Childress, and it has to do with triangulation and parental alienation within relationships. And within his theory, he's talking about parental alienation as an attachment disorder, and essentially that when there is a couple and they have a child or children, and the unsafe, abusive parent is trying to outcast the safe parent, like after a divorce, that parent doesn't even have to tell the child, like, we don't like mom, we don't want mom, and you shouldn't choose mom. That they don't have to do that, because what happens is there's a coalition that's formed between the child and the unsafe parent. And this coalition, it acts like teamwork. And in the mind of the child, when they see the unsafe, violent parent explode and get mad at the other parent, they start to develop the narrative and internalize the narrative of, oh, when mom does this, it makes him mad. When mom does this, she gets hurt and pushed out of his life. And they internalize this message in a way that they're like, I won't do that. And I love my dad and I want him to choose me and I don't want to be hurt. And so they internalize this narrative where they're going to be good. They're not going to do the things that she does, so that they will be chosen and safe. And within this coalition, like the unsafe, abusive parent doesn't have to say anything. The child learns to live within the parameters that they think that parent will simply choose them because they're being better than, or they're not doing what she's doing, kind of a thing. But here's the thing. Blake and Justin Baldoni weren't technically in a relationship, but the words obsession and outcome were the things that pinged me back to her and the situation with Nice Pool. And the reason why is because I think it's another peer into her subconscious. I think it's another situation where we can see that she's acting out an obsession. And it's not just that she's acting out an obsession, she is acting out a desired outcome. She feels in her personal life, off screen with him, that she doesn't have power and control. And instead of being able to problem solve and come to resolutions and conclusions, she escalates to wanting to destroy him. So I feel like it's another Rosetta Stone moment where she's letting us peer into her subconscious inner workings, that if she doesn't have power and control, if she doesn't get what she wants, like, then destruction. That's what she's moving to. And she didn't move to that by the time Nice Pool had happened. And so almost in a way, it's not just the obsession of a different outcome. To me, it's almost kind of like a threat. And I say threat because somebody else was commenting just now on a photo. And it's that photo from 2023. And Taylor is leaning back into Blake's lap. And Blake has her arm, like, reached with the sparkly gloves and whatever. And somebody commented on that post that they think that photo was more like a threat, because Blake looked so smug in that photo, and it was sometime around the culmination of the 17-point list. And so they think that possibly Blake was posing that picture, kind of posturing as a threat to Justin Baldoni. Like, remember who my friends are. Remember how close I am to these big and powerful people whose names she has been throwing around behind the scenes. And so you combine that, and then you think of what she did with Nice Pool. Like, you know, in hindsight, like if you had told me at the beginning, I probably would have been like, that's a threatening photo. How is that a threatening photo? But now when you think about it in hindsight and you combine it with what happened with Nice Pool, possibly, quite possibly. And the thing is that the way it fits into the picture also for me is that when you think of Craig Childress's theory of attachment, parental alienation as an attachment disorder, and you put Justin Baldoni as the two parents and Ryan as the child, because Ryan's not supposed to be a part of this relationship. He's not supposed to be a part of making the movie. And so it kind of feels, the way that he acts out Nice Pool, you can see that he even feels conflicted because he's like, he's so nice. So it's almost like a child. Like there's the inner narrative of a child who's like, why are we destroying this person who's so nice? But because he's in a coalition with Blake, who's his wife, of course he's going to bond with and make choices that pull him closer to his wife. And it just, like, I hope people do more research on this and look it up. Dr. Craig Childress has like 2 50-minute videos about parental alienation as an attachment disorder, and they are wildly informative and eye-opening. I've never been able to stop thinking about them, and they have given me so much insight into so many different things, and it's what really gives me the best understanding of how to pull apart, like trying to figure out, because there's so many times where it's like, how do you know which person to believe, especially when there's a person engaging in Darvo, and Darvo can make things so confusing and so hard to pull apart. But you have to remember, first and foremost, power dynamics, and then you have to think about also the type of things that happen within the dynamics of an unhealthy relationship in regards to how Dr. Craig Childress pulls apart everything, and the things, the way he identifies the way that people speak and posture, etc. And it just, oh my gosh. Like, please watch those, come back to my post, let me know what you think, because I'm so curious if I'm alone in what I see or think. Help me out here.